Open this gate. You're in violation of HOA Code 47B. He screamed it loud, clipped, and angry, like he actually thought yelling would make him sound official. Voice sharp as barbed wire, tone full of cheap authority. He banged the steel gate with his fist, rattling it like he had a damn warrant. But he didn't. No cruiser, no badge that wasn't printed at Office Depot, just boots full of attitude and a belt weighed down by ego. I watched him from behind the barn wall, coffee still in my hand. My horses were spooked, my dogs were quiet, and me, I was already done with his bullshit. Because this wasn't a neighborhood. It was my land. And that gate, he just knocked on the last bad decision of his life. By the way, where are y'all watching from? Drop your city or state in the comments below. I want to know just how far this story's traveling and how many gates like mine are still standing strong. You ever have one of those mornings where the sky's perfect, coffee's hot, and everything feels just right until some dipshit ruins it? Yeah. That was my Saturday. It was around 7:30 a.m. I was out by the barn, still half asleep. Coffee mug in one hand, dog kibble in the other. When I saw him walking up the long-ass gravel road to my front gate like he owned the place. Dust kicking off his boots. Fake shades. Some shiny-ass badge glinting in the sun like it was supposed to mean something. Now, I've seen real uniforms. Worn one for 35 goddamn years. This wasn't one... This guy looked like he'd raided a Halloween aisle at the dollar store and said, "Yep, that's official as hell." Combat boots? Navy blue shirt 2 sizes too tight. Belt full of junk handcuffs. Baton. Pepper spray? All bouncing like he was playing dress-up. No cruiser, no radio, no backup. Just a lone cowboy with delusions of grandeur stomping up to my goddamn ranch. Then he yelled it. Loud enough the horses near the fence jumped like he fired a gun. "Open up HOA enforcement. You're in violation." I blinked, took a sip of coffee, said out loud, "The fuck did he just say, HOA? On my land." You gotta understand, I bought this ranch about 15 years ago for one damn reason: to get away from HOAs and their clipboard-carrying bullshit. I paid cash. Read every contract. No oversight, no monthly fees. No nosy bastards telling me how tall my fence can be or what color to paint my barn. This joker was barking up the wrong tree. I didn't walk out right away. I stood behind the barn, out of view, and pulled up the live feed on the security cam I'd rigged in the tack room. Watched him pacing around like he was waiting for Judge Judy to give him a warrant. Dude was sweating like a preacher in a strip club. Then I zoomed in on the badge. Plastic. That's when I smiled. Big mistake. Partner? See, I ain't just some crusty rancher who reads the obituaries for entertainment. I'm Chief Thomas Walker, retired chief of the county sheriff's office. My face is still on half the billboards in this damn county. You'd have to be blind or brain dead not to recognize me. So I walked back into the house, hit the gate release button like I was opening a candy jar, and waited. Dude strutted in like he'd just served a warrant on Pablo Escobar. Got 10 steps onto my property when I stepped out from behind the barn, arms crossed, sunglasses on. You picked the wrong ranch, asshole. He froze like a possum on I-35, mouth open, eyes wide. Chief Walker? He stammered. I smiled, mind showing me some ID. That's when his brain caught up and screamed, "Abort mission." He bolted right into the goddamn patrol truck I'd had Jamal park behind him 5 minutes ago. Didn't even hear it roll up. Silent as death on gravel. 2 deputies stepped out like they were answering a damn doorbell. Calm. Hands holstered, but ready. The fake cop froze. He looked like he just realized he left the oven on. In hell. He reached into his pocket too fast. I stepped forward. Don't even ask me why idiots do this. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's meth. Maybe it's both. He yelled, "I know my rights," and tried to run sideways into the woods. didn't get far. Jamal clotheslined him like it was Friday Night SmackDown. We cuffed him, confiscated his bullshit gear pepper spray, plastic baton, HOA compliance officer ID printed on a goddamn Walgreens printer. Then we found his map. We popped open the clown's duffel bag expecting snacks and stupidity. What we got was a goddamn conspiracy starter pack. There was a folded county map with big-ass red circles around certain ranches. Mine. Brian's. Carol's. A couple of more 5 miles out I didn't even recognize. At the top, written in thick Sharpie like it was some budget horror movie plot. Target non-compliant. I let out a dry laugh. Motherfucker brought a hit list to a handshake. Rachel, my deputy, flipped through the other junk. Toy walkie-talkie. A cheap-ass clipboard with fake violation tickets. HOA seals printed off an Epson. Smudged ink and all. Hell, one of them was still warm like it just came off the printer 10 minutes ago. This shit wouldn't fool a drunk possum, she muttered. I looked at the guy, now handcuffed in the back seat, sweating like a hooker in church. You got a name, I asked. He just stared, mouth twitching. So I stepped closer, leaned in, real calm. Listen, you sorry sack of Walmart law enforcement. You showed up on my land, in a fake uniform, screaming like you're auditioning for Cops Trailer Park Edition. Now you either talk, or we peel your ass open in the interrogation room like a damn breakfast burrito. Your choice. He blinked. Twice. Then pissed himself. Not even kidding. Back at the station, things escalated faster than a meth deal gone sideways. Carol called, her voice shaking. Tom, someone left a red envelope on my back porch. No return address. It says, comply or be condemned. I felt something tighten in my gut. Not fear. Rage. Carol's a widow. Her husband was a deputy, too. Back in the day. She bakes cookies for town hall meetings. She doesn't deserve this shit. I barked into the radio, Rachel. Double the patrols. Jamal, get to Carol's. Now. I'm heading over. By the time I got there, Carol was standing on her porch, shotgun in one hand, Bible in the other. Now that's Texas. She handed me the envelope. I opened it. One printed warning. Black text on blood-red paper like they watched too many B-grade thrillers. Your property is in violation. Submit to Green Valley Community Standards or face legal and physical enforcement. Legal and physical, I muttered. These bastards just threatened an old woman with goddamn domestic terrorism. Footage from her security cam showed two figures creeping around last night. Masks, gloves, flashlights. Didn't even try to hide. Looked straight into the camera like they wanted us to know. And that's when it hit me they weren't hiding anymore and they were performing. Back at the station, Rachel and I dug into the map. Properties circled weren't random. Every single one had no active HOA. Most belonged to retirees, single moms, or folks who didn't trust the system enough to push back. They're preying on the vulnerable, Rachel said. They're fucking cowards. I corrected. Then we found the binder. Thick, black, labeled Community Shield Program. Inside HOA citations with fake barcodes, forged signatures, names of people I knew personally, people who'd never signed shit in their lives. Legalese babble slapped together like someone Googled how to sound official and copy-pasted a bunch of bullshit. At that point, I wasn't mad anymore, and I was surgical. This ain't some grifter with a clipboard. I told Rachel, this is organized crime wrapped in khakis and HOA bullshit. She nodded. So what now? I looked at the clock. Midnight. We go hunting. The next morning, Brian called, whispering. Tom, there's a guy outside my barn, dressed like the first one, holding a clipboard, talking into an earpiece. Think I'm being watched. I didn't wait. Radioed the team. Unit 6 focus shift to Walker East. Brian's ranch? No sirens. Silent approach. Jamal rolled out like a ghost in a patrol truck. I jumped in my SUV and pulled up Brian's camera feeds. I'd helped him install them after Carol's scare. What I saw made my fists curl. Another fake officer, bigger than the first. Clipboard, tablet, same dollar store uniform. He was walking the perimeter like he was casing the joint. These sons of bitches think they're the fucking IRS now, I growled. When I got to Brian's place, Jamal was already parked by the tree line. I came around the other side, quiet, stepped out, silent as a shadow. We made eye contact, nodded. The fake was filming Brian's solar panels with his phone, talking into his Bluetooth like he was in a goddamn press conference. I stepped out from cover and yelled, "Hey! Step away from the barn. Hands where I can see 'em." He froze, turned slow, smiled. "Just doing an inspection," he said. "Your friend's in violation of Green Valley's external structure policy, bull—" Shit. I cut him off. Green Valley doesn't exist here. You're trespassing. Identify your dumbass self. Now. He reached into his vest way too fast. Jamal and I both drew our weapons in a blink. "Don't," I shouted. "Slow. Hands out now." Out came a business card. He tossed it on the ground like it meant something. "Fine. Call my supervisor. I'll call your parole officer." I snapped. Jamal cuffed him before he even finished blinking. In his bag, another map. Fake bylaws. GPS coordinates. A stack of citations ranging from $500 to $3,500. We weren't looking at pranksters anymore. This was fraud, impersonation, stalking. And worst of all, they were building an empire off fear. "Rachel." I radioed. "This is bigger than local. We're going federal." Let me tell you something. Straight up, I've locked up cartel thugs, pulled bodies out of ditches, and once tackled a naked tweaker off a church roof. But this shit, this fake-ass HOA scam creeping through my county like a fart in a tornado, this was personal. After we bagged the second poser at Brian's place, I figured we'd crack the surface. Turns out we were standing on a goddamn iceberg. Back at the station, Jamal and Rachel dumped both bags out on the war table. That's what we call the old oak desk in the center of the operations room. Scratches. Bloodstains. Coffee Ring's place has seen more action than most nightclubs in Austin. Rachel pulled out a thick-ass binder from the second perp's duffel. Black. Heavy. Smelled like rubber and bullshit. Embossed on the cover Community Shield Program. Phase 2. "Oh, hell no," I muttered. They named it like it's a Marvel villain. Inside a full goddamn playbook. Not just HOA tickets. Not just phony signatures. No, this was a corporate-level wet dream. Charts, org charts, templates for fake compliance notices, diagrams on how to present authority during doorstep visits, even training scripts. I read one aloud. Use language like enforcement, non-compliance, and escalation to lien. Do not use suggest. Volunteer, or optional. Tone should be assertive but not aggressive unless recording. I laughed so hard I choked on my coffee. They got script coaching for intimidation now. Shit. Next they'll be hiring failed actors from L. To come hand out fines. Rachel didn't laugh. She held up a flash drive from the binder, plugged it into her laptop. Folders popped up labeled Zones, Targets, and Outreach. Inside zones were Google Maps screenshots of neighborhoods, color-coded, red no HOA, yellow HOA but inactive, green HOA active, avoid. These assholes weren't just winging it. They'd mapped out which places were easy pickings. That night, as the sky turned the color of dried blood, I sat on my porch staring out across the field. My horses were calm, dogs asleep, but I wasn't. There was something rotten in Green Valley, and I don't mean like metaphorically. I mean literally. I drove past the entrance to their so-called office earlier that day. Trailer park office slapped with a cheap-ass banner saying Green Valley Community Oversight Board. 2 deck chairs, no mailbox. 1 window covered in duct tape. Legit my left nut. I stopped 50 feet away. Watched 2 men in fake uniforms load boxes into a silver SUV. Didn't approach. Not yet. I needed to know who was pulling the strings. Carol called again just before midnight. Tom, there's someone out there again. I got there in 6 minutes flat. Whoever it was gone, but left something behind. A red envelope. Again. This one wasn't a warning, and it was a fine $750 violation unauthorized perimeter lighting structure, exceeding HOA lumens cap. I stared at the paper like it owed me money. Lumens, I barked. They're making up lighting codes now. The fuck is a lumens cap? Carol looked at me, scared but trying not to show it. Tom, it was taped to the back door. My dog didn't even bark this time. That's when it clicked. They were getting smarter. We brought in both perps for interrogation. Jamal handled the first one. Fake cop, Miebus 1. He cracked after 2 hours and half a chicken sandwich. It's not just us, he blubbered. There's a system, a schedule, and we get zones. They tell us where to go, what to say, even what to wear. Denton runs it. That name again. Denton. Now let me tell you about Ray Denton. Used to be a hotshot real estate developer. Built strip malls, flipped houses, conned old ladies out of their deeds back in the day. Got run out of town 5 years ago after his whole Lakeview Lakes project turned out to be a swamp with billboards. Last we heard, he skipped town with $3 million in misappropriated HOA fees from a county north of here. Now here he was, ghost running a fake enforcement racket with cosplay cops and fucking lumens caps. Rachel traced a few digital breadcrumbs Denton had set up a shell company registered under a Nevada P.O. Box Civic Order Solutions. LLC, linked it to Green Valley, then to 2 more fake HOAs in nearby counties. This isn't a scam. I said it. It's a goddamn infection. 2 days later, Denton sent a goddamn message. Not an email, not a letter, no. He showed up right outside the police station. Black SUV. Big-ass letters on the side Green Valley Enforcement Unit. He stepped out like he was about to hold a fucking press conference. Camera crew. Megaphone. Matching uniforms. One of them pointed at me and shouted, "We are issuing a public compliance order against the chief of police for non-alignment with community ethics protocols." I blinked. Then laughed. Did this motherfucker just try to fire me on my own sidewalk? Rachel stepped beside me, weapon at her hip. Crowd started forming. Some folks clapped. Others just filmed on their phones. That's when one of Denton's stooges pulled a taser, shot it right at Rachel. Crack. It missed her by 2 inches. Struck my patrol truck. Sparks flew. That's when I moved. Didn't shout. Didn't warn. I tackled his dumbass so hard we left a dent in the pavement. Rachel covered the other 2. Jamal came out with 2 more deputies. Whole squad went down like bowling pins. Inside their van, fake IDs, taser packs, tripods, tablets, GoPros. But one thing made my stomach drop. A tablet with live feeds, dozens, from private homes, backyards, bedrooms. They'd been planting hidden cameras. This wasn't about fake fines anymore. This was full-on digital terrorism. I sat down that night in my office. No lights, just the tablet screen in front of me. People think justice is a badge and a gun. They're wrong. Sometimes justice is knowing when to take off the gloves. And buddy, I was just getting started. You ever get that itch on the back of your neck? The kind that ain't skin deep, but soul deep? Yeah. That's what I felt when Rachel walked into my office holding a goddamn tablet with a live feed of somebody else's bedroom on it. And not just one. Dozens. Driveways, barns, kitchens, kids' playrooms, even one guy's goddamn shower. I stood up so fast my chair nearly launched out the window. Jesus fucking Christ. Rachel, where the hell did you get this? The van. Denton's crew had it hooked to a live relay. These are active. I stared at the screen. It looked like something out of an NSA briefing, but sloppier, dirtier, like someone who learned hacking from YouTube and meth. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I'd crack a molar. They weren't just scamming fines, they were watching. Let me pause a second and say this straight. I don't give a shit what your politics are, what your job is, or how many cats you hoard you deserve to take a goddamn piss without some HOA lunatic recording it. But here we were. The Green Valley Authority had gone full Orwell with duct-taped GoPros in birdhouses. I called the feds that night. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Next morning, my phone buzzed. At 6:13 a.m. Brian? Tom. I found something. I was halfway into my boots before the call ended. He handed me a little black box wrapped in duct tape. Pulled it from under his gutter. No brand, no markings. Just a lens. Barely bigger than a quarter. Bastards were watching me take a shit, he said flatly. I didn't laugh. I couldn't. Because that box matched the one Carol found behind her chicken coop. And the same model we found duct-taped under the animal shelter's fence line. This wasn't surveillance, and this was targeting. Rachel and I ran digital forensics like hell was on our heels. IP traces bounced between ghost servers in goddamn Moldova, Michigan, and McKinney, Texas. But the key hit came from inside. One of the logins to our county record system came from a planning and development department account. That department's 2 floors up from my station. Internal breach, I asked. Yeah, Rachel said. Or someone's got a mole. Now, if there's one thing I hate more than HOA bullies, it's dirty insiders. I radioed Jamal, pull footage, staff entries, every goddamn second from last 90 days, and we're going to shake this tree till snakes fall out. Then it got worse. Carol called. Again. This time, she wasn't whispering. She was screaming. Chief, there's smoke. It's the shelter. The goddamn animal shelter. I dropped the phone and ran. By the time I got there, flames were licking the sky like the devil's birthday candles. Kids screaming, cages busted open, dogs running wild. Jamal was already there, yelling orders, hauling crates with 2 volunteers like it was fucking war. I grabbed a hose, didn't wait for gear. Drenched the sidewall while Rachel sprinted in with a fire blanket. 3 Molotov cocktails. Tossed over the fence. No fingerprints. No camera footage. But they knew where to hit. The back wall. The supply wing. The only part of the building with no cams. They studied our gaps. They studied us. And that's when the truth gut-punched me. The cameras weren't the first step. They were the cleanup crew. They'd already mapped us, already infiltrated our records. The feeds were just the confirmation, just surveillance for enforcement. Denton didn't just want a fake HOA power. He wanted to replace the goddamn government. That night, back at the station, I sat with a bottle of cheap bourbon and a wall full of pins, maps, timelines. My head throbbed. My gut burned. Rachel came in with a manila envelope. We traced the latest spoofed email. She said, "County compliance notices are going out. With your name, Chief. They've forged your signature." I opened the file. A notice claiming I owed $38,000 in backdated HOA fees. Fake deed attachment, forged notary stamp. And worst of all, it looked fucking legit. They're rewriting property records, Rachel said. Digitally. I took a long swig of bourbon. Then it's time we start rewriting back. By sunrise, we had new orders. Code Raven full lockdown on sensitive records. No file goes unverified. No email gets trusted. And nobody walks into this county system without us looking them in the eye and sniffing their soul. This ain't just about me anymore. Or Carol. Or Brian. This is about every poor son of a bitch who owns land and thinks they're safe. Denton wants control. He's about to learn something. In Texas, we don't take kindly to cowards hiding behind clipboards. You come for our land. We come for your goddamn neck. Let's see how Denton handles that. Let me be real with you. When they torched the shelter, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. These motherfuckers weren't just trying to play HOA. They were waging war. And now I was off the goddamn leash. The fire was still smoldering when I got there. Smoke curling into the early morning sky like the devil lighting up a cigar. Animal crates scattered. Kids coughing. Deputies with ash on their faces and panic in their eyes. Jamal ran up to me, eyes wide, voice like gravel. Chief, it was deliberate. 3 Molotovs, tossed in through the back fence. No cameras, they knew. I looked around, charred remains, burned food storage, a melted slide set. Some poor kid's stuffed bunny sitting in the mud like a war relic. And you know what I thought? This wasn't about money anymore, this was a message. We own your file, and we burn your safe places. And you can't stop us. Fucking shit. I radioed Rachel? Status. Her voice came through tight, hoarse. Chief, it's worse than I thought. Someone tried to lock me out of the county mainframe. They're in the system. I felt my spine ice over. Which system? The system. Property records, court archives, deed vaults, planning permits, voter rolls, all of it. Fuck me sideways. I hauled ass back to the station, boots still muddy from the fire zone. Rachel was hunched over her screen like a sniper in a shootout, fingers flying across the keyboard, eyes bloodshot. Talk to me. They're not just deleting file, they're modifying them. Clean. Deep. With internal credentials. She spun the screen toward me. What I saw nearly made me choke on rage. My goddamn ranch? Flagged for HOA non-payment. Debt $38,000. Signed by me, dated 3 years ago. Notarized. Stamped. Only problem, I never signed a goddamn thing. And that notary died 2 years ago. I paced the room like a fucking caged panther. They forged my past. Rachel, they're trying to rewrite who the hell I am. She didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Because then she opened the next tab. Chief, they're doing it to everyone. She pulled up a spreadsheet. 3,000 entries. Name, address, age, income level, vulnerabilities. One column stood out target priority. Under Brian's name, stubborn, veteran, surveillance active. Under Carol's widow, isolated, no legal counsel. Under a goddamn children's shelter, public facing, emotional leverage. I stared at that last one so long my eyes burned. They weren't just scamming. They were strategizing. Picking off the weak, the old, the quiet. And if that didn't work, they came for the strong next. They're setting up a civil war disguised as a compliance campaign, I said. And we've been sleeping with the snake in our bed. Next day, just as I was about to brief the sheriff's office, Rachel burst into my office with a printed email in her hand. Face white. Chief, this just came through official county channels. I read it. Subject emergency notice of HOA compliance investigation. Attached a fucking lien order for my property. With real metadata. And here's the part that punched me in the balls. It came from inside the Department of Planning. With real credentials. Rachel looked at me. Someone with a badge is feeding them access, or they've got someone on the inside. I didn't say a word. just nodded, walked out, and told Jamal to lock down the building. No one in, no one out. Every computer is now a suspect. Treat this like a hostage situation. Then came the kicker. Security footage from yesterday. Guess who was standing outside the shelter the night before the fire? Denton wearing a hoodie. No camera crew, just watching. Like he was admiring a fucking painting. This son of a bitch, I growled, isn't just pushing fake law, he's writing a goddamn reality show. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch with my old 40th bottle of bourbon and a head full of hell. Brian showed up around midnight. Didn't say a word. Just handed me a USB stick. Found this in the camera hidden behind my shed. Guess they forgot to pick it up. I plugged it in. Inside videos, dozens of them. All of us. Carol feeding chickens. Brian mowing his lawn shirtless. God help us all. Me. Sitting on this same porch last week. They've been watching us for weeks, maybe months. And one folder was labeled Next Phase Friday. Courthouse. I stood up. No more defense. I said, we go on offense. Starting now. Rachel and Jamal were ready within the hour. I called Carol, she answered on the first ring. Carol, you still got that contact at the Attorney General's office, honey? She said, cocking her shotgun in the background. I got 3. By sunrise. We had a plan. Burn me, I rise. Fake my files, I bring the real ones. Threaten my town. You better dig 2 graves. Because this time, I wasn't gonna knock. I was gonna kick the goddamn gate off its hinges. You ever watch a man lose his goddamn mind in public, and instead of people backing away, they cheer? That was Friday night. Denton didn't just throw a rally. He threw a fucking revival meeting for suburban fascists. I'd seen the flyers all week. Pasted on power poles, slipped into mailboxes, shared online like porn in a locker room. Green Valley Compliance Summit, Restore Order, Reclaim Community, Guest Speaker Authority Figure of the Year. Jesus Christ. Authority figure. What does that even mean? You don't get that title unless you're in a fucking dictatorship. Or Comic-Con. We planned the sting like a goddamn SEAL op. Rachel in the van, comms and signal tracking, Jamal going in dressed like mall security. Me, I went in as the newest landowner interested in joining the HOA, and Brian, bless his crusty soul, went as our decoy, a pissed-off violator with a bogus dispute to resolve. We rolled up to the abandoned mall at 6 p.m. Lot already had 50-plus cars, tents, signs, fucking merchandise booths. Are we stopping a scam? Jamal whispered. Or shutting down a cult, both. I growled. Hope you wore your good boots. Inside, when it was like stepping into a dystopian garage sale, people in matching hats, badges printed on t-shirts. A little old lady was selling HOA compliance kits with fake ticket pads and whistles. One booth had lawn signs, proud member, Green Valley Enforcement. We don't tolerate non-compliance here. And my personal favorite, if you don't obey, you don't belong. Then the lights dimmed. Spotlight hit the center stage, and out walked the devil in khakis himself, Ray Denton. Buttoned shirt, aviators, a badge-shaped logo stitched on his breast pocket like he thought he was running for Sheriff of Mars. He held a mic like it was a weapon, and he smiled like he'd already won. My friends, he said, we are growing. We are reclaiming. And they can't stop us. The crowd roared. We are tired of being ignored, of seeing our neighborhoods fall apart. We demand structure. We demand compliance. And if the government won't do it, we will. Cult. Straight up. Waco grade. Kool-Aid drinking. Badge polishing cult. He clicked a remote. Projector lit up behind him. Photos of houses. Carol's, Brian's, the children's shelter. Then mine. He pointed. These are the obstructions. These are the violators. The crowd booed, and we will bring them into alignment. By choice or consequence. That was it. I tapped my mic. Go. The side doors burst open. Deputies, FBI, AG agents in full gear. People screamed. Some ran, some froze. Rachel jammed every cell signal in the room. Jamal moved to block the exits. I walked straight down the aisle, parting the sheep like Moses in cowboy boots. Denton didn't move. He just raised his hands, smiling. Chief Walker, he said. Welcome. You're late. You're done, I replied. Oh no, I've only just begun. Then his hand twitched, and one of his goons, some little punk with a shaved head and big dreams, leapt from the side with a steel baton. I turned just in time to see the swing. Crack. Pain exploded across my skull. Then darkness. I woke up to beeping. Bright lights. Rachel's face. Pale, but fierce. You're okay, she whispered. Cracked skull? Mild concussion? You were out for 6 hours. Denton, I croaked. She nodded. In custody. So are the rest. The whole network's unraveling. But, Chief, he left something. She held up a small envelope, inside a USB drive, and a note. You stopped the rally, but not the revolution. Did I? That night, we cracked the drive. Inside were files, thousands of names, target lists, property values, mortgage statuses, medical conditions, surveillance feeds, AI-generated deed templates. They'd planned phase 2. Sue the courthouse, freeze property transfers, override land records via civil claim. It wasn't violence anymore. It was bureaucratic warfare. I stood up, IV still in my arm. Get the judge. Get the AG. We've got 72 hours before they try to take the county down with a goddamn lawsuit. Rachel tried to stop me. I didn't listen. This ain't just about one ranch anymore. This is war for who owns the truth. And I'm not letting that bastard rewrite it. There's a kind of silence that comes after getting your skull cracked open by a maniac in a polo shirt. Not the peaceful kind. The kind where your blood's boiling, your teeth hurt from clenching, and all you hear is the whisper of one word. War. I checked myself out of the hospital that same night. Doctor said I needed bed rest. I told him I'd rest when Denton's ass was in federal fucking chains. Back at the station, Rachel and Jamal were already working like the apocalypse was on a deadline. Flash drive open. Timeline on the whiteboard. Red string, connecting properties, names, fake documents, and shell companies like we were starring in a budget version of CSI Texas. Chief, Rachel said, spinning her laptop toward me. It's worse than we thought. She showed me a spreadsheet. Over 3,000 names, every one of them marked for targeting. Addresses, phone numbers, home equity, vulnerabilities, even sick notes, widow statuses, disabled veterans, folks with no legal counsel. Denton built a playbook of pain. But that wasn't the kicker. She scrolled down to the next tab, Phase 3 Legal Siege. It was all there. Drafted civil suit claiming HOA governance had been unlawfully stripped from rural zones. Doctored petitions with forged homeowner signatures. Fabricated voting rolls. A plan to sue the entire fucking courthouse into a standstill. They're not breaking down the gate. I said, they're putting a lien on it. Jamal walked in with a folder thick as a goddamn steak. Judge already got the first filing, he said. If it hits the docket, title freezes start immediately. I slammed my fist on the table. Then we take the fight public. We called an emergency town hall that night. Gymnasium at the high school. Folding chairs. Coffee and thermoses. Old folks in jeans. Moms with toddlers. Ranchers with hands like leather. Over 400 showed up. Brian brought muffins. Carol brought her shotgun no shells, but still made a statement. I stepped onto the podium. No speech, no script, just truth. Look, y'all, I ain't gonna sugarcoat shit. Denton's not just a scammer, he's a saboteur. He's not selling fake fines anymore, he's selling a fake reality. He forged your signatures, he rewrote your deeds, he filed liens against your homes, then tried to film you crying on your porch so he could sell it like a fucking Netflix documentary. Murmurs in the crowd, then silence. But here's what he didn't plan for us. I turned to the screen. Rachel flipped through the slides. Real versus fake citations, Denton's manual, videos from the rally, footage of the shelter fire suspects, HOA tickets with barcodes that didn't lead anywhere but hell. You see this? I held up a citation. It ain't legal, it ain't real, it's paper terrorism. But you're real. Your land is real. Your families, your damn chicken coops. Your garden gnomes, they're yours. And nobody with a bad-shaped sticker gets to take them from you. The crowd exploded, not in fear, in fury. People stood up, shouted. One guy tore his fake ticket in half and threw it in the air like confetti. Carol raised her mic. I'm organizing a class action suit. Anyone who got a fake notice, stand with me. Over 60 hands went up. Jamal stepped forward with a new file. We're also freezing every one of Denton's bank accounts under emergency fraud authority. Rachel clicked the last slide. And we've already sent packets of evidence to Arizona, Nevada, and 3 other states where this cancer is spreading. You ever see a crowd turn from scared to ready to riot? It's beautiful. Brian lifted a muffin like a toast. Let's burn their fake system down the right way. Next morning, I stood on the courthouse steps. Sun behind me, hat low, shirt still stained with blood from the rally. To my left, Carol, shotgun slung. To my right, Jamal, arms folded. Behind me, a wall of former victims turned warriors. Denton got dragged into court in cuffs. Smirk gone. Aisha's dull. Judge didn't even let his lawyer talk first. She read the files, reviewed the footage, held up one of his fake badges like it was a used condom. This is not a civil dispute, she said. This is calculated deception. You are hereby sentenced. 35 years in federal prison, no parole until 20, plus class action damages, and a statewide fraud task force named after the damn case. Later that night, I sat in the dark, alone in my office. All was quiet. The war wasn't over. Not yet. There were still other states, other Green Valleys, other Dentons. But in this town, we buried that lie. Hey, and we did it the only way Texans know how, with truth, grit, and a fuck you smile. And, you ever think it's over just to find out the fire moved to another damn forest? Yeah. That was Tuesday. Denton went down like a sack of rotting potatoes. The courtroom verdict hit harder than a buckshot to the face, 35 years. Federal time. Class action lawsuits lined up behind him like dominoes on a bar table. But the next day, Rachel burst into my office holding a file with shaking hands. Chief, they're copying him. Arizona, Florida, fucking Montana. New groups, new fake HOAs, different names, same goddamn blueprint. They're franchising this bullshit, Jamal muttered. That's when I knew this wasn't about my ranch anymore. It never was. We formed the Gatekeepers. Sound dramatic? Damn right. Sometimes you need to name a thing so loud it echoes through Congress. Gatekeepers was a joint task force. Local sheriffs, cybercrime units, state AG reps, and a hell of a lot of pissed off homeowners. Rachel ran cyber intel. Carol ran public outreach. Brian handled muffins, morale, and occasionally shaming people into testifying with nothing but a stare. We overhauled our entire property system. Every landowner now got a digitally signed land certificate, issued directly from courthouse servers. An app called Who the Hell Is This? Scan any citation or HOA claim, and it tells you if it's real or bullshit. An open public directory of all legally registered HOAs. And what power they actually have, spoiler, not much. We held town meetings, not the sleepy kind with stale donuts. No, these were fire pit meetings. Carol standing on a hay bale, shotgun over one shoulder, reading scam tactics like a preacher reading out sins, Brian handing out muffins like they were holy wafers, Rachel dropping deep dive presentations with titles like How Not to Get Fucked by a Fake Fine. We gave people what Denton never expected: knowledge, confidence, community. A month later, I was invited to speak before the state senate. I walked in wearing jeans, boots, and a bolo tie that pissed off 4 lobbyists on site. I looked those shiny suits dead in the eye. You want to stop the next Denton? Then quit making it easy for him. Fix your records. Lock your systems. And for the love of Texas, stop treating landowners like walking ATM machines. We don't need more rules. We need real ones. Room went silent. Then a senator stood up and clapped. Then another. By spring, 5 states adopted what they called the Walker Standards: digital verification, HOA transparency, anti-fraud response teams. You know what I called it? Common goddamn sense. Today, things are different. In this county, we got signs at every entry point. No fake HOAs, no bullshit. You try it, we bury it. Carol's now the official watchdog coordinator. Brian's muffins got voted most comforting baked goods during a legal dispute. Rachel started a website called HOA Hoax Busters, and it's spreading like wildfire across the country. And me still chief. Still here. Some days I think about retiring. Then I remember truth doesn't keep the gate. People do. And if another son of a bitch ever dares show up at someone's gate in a fake uniform again, I'll be there. Boots on, badge clean, voice steady, and I'll say what I said the first time you picked the wrong ranch. You know, after all the fires, fake fines, forged signatures, and fake-ass badges. One thing stuck with me. Power's a tricky bastard. It doesn't always show up in a uniform. Sometimes it hides behind clipboards, polite language, and a phony HOA letterhead. But no matter what mask it wears, when someone shows up trying to take what's yours through fear, lies, or intimidation, you don't back down, you don't fold, you stand your ground, plant your boots, and look that bastard in the eye. Because if you don't fight for your land, your rights, your home, who the hell will? Seen something shady in your neighborhood? Fake fines. Fake compliance officers. HOA horror stories. You ain't alone, and we're keeping receipts. Hit that subscribe button and follow us here at HOA Karen Files, where we expose the BS, one badge-shaped lie at a time. Turn on notifications so you never miss a case. And hey, drop your story in the comments. We're listening. And trust me, you're not the only one dealing with HOA hell.